Have you ever felt that feeling? The one where you're standing on the edge of a vast, empty landscape, and you just know there are secrets hidden out there. Secrets the modern world has forgotten. I've chased that feeling across the globe, from forgotten tombs to lost cities. But some of the most compelling mysteries aren't buried under sand. They're walking, breathing enigmas hiding in plain sight. Today, we're heading deep into the rugged heart of Central Asia, to the sprawling Caucasus Mountains and the remote Altai range of Mongolia. This is a land of extremes, a place where history is etched into the very rock. And it's here, in these unforgiving mountains, that whispers of a creature known as the Almas have echoed for centuries. So what exactly are people seeing out there in the mountains? If you piece together the hundreds of eyewitness accounts collected over the years, a remarkably consistent picture of the Almas begins to emerge. This isn't a monstrous ape man. According to those who claim to have seen it, the Almas is strikingly human in its form. It stands between 5 and 6.5 feet tall, with a stocky, powerful build. Its body is covered in reddish-brown hair, its body is covered in dark hair, but this hair is reportedly not as thick as an ape's fur. Crucially, its face is said to have less hair, revealing features that are often described as more human than animalistic, with a pronounced brow ridge, a wide nose, and a receding chin. The way the Almas moves is also distinctly human. It walks upright with a bipedal gait, its arms swinging naturally at its sides. Unlike the lumbering, ape-like stride often attributed to Bigfoot, witnesses describe the Almas as walking with a slightly stooped posture and bent knees, a gait that would be efficient for navigating the steep, uneven terrain of its mountain home. Many reports mention its long arms, powerful legs, suggesting a creature perfectly adapted for a life of climbing and long-distance travel. The feet are described as large and broad, but again more human-like than ape-like, lacking the opposable big toe seen in primates like chimpanzees. Its behavior is consistently described as shy, secretive, and non-aggressive. The Almas seems to go to great lengths to avoid human contact. Encounters are almost always fleeting, a quick glimpse of a figure disappearing into a thicket of trees or a shadowy form slipping over a ridge at dusk. They are often seen alone, or in small family groups. When you hear about a hairy, human-like creature in the mountains, your mind probably jumps to two famous figures: the Yeti of the Himalayas and Bigfoot of North America. It's easy to lump the Almas in with them, but that would be a mistake. When you dig into the details, the Almas stands apart in some very important ways. The biggest difference lies in appearance and place on the evolutionary ladder. Bigfoot is almost always described as a massive, ape-like beast. The Yeti is portrayed the same way. The Almas, however, is consistently reported as far more human in anatomy and stature. It's our size, our shape, just wilder. Think about the classic Bigfoot sighting. A huge, muscular creature, often 7 or 8 feet tall, ape-like features. The Yeti, brutish ape man of the snows. The Almas, however, is different. Smaller size, lack of thick fur on face and hands, more human-like facial structure, sloping forehead, heavy brow. Yeti, extreme high-altitude Himalayan snowfields. Bigfoot, dense temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest. Almas, wider range, forested foothills of the Caucasus and arid, windswept steppes of Mongolia. Its habitat is about vast, sparsely populated wilderness. Some researchers suggest the Almas is not a Yeti-like specialist, but a highly adaptable generalist, like early humans. Perhaps the most compelling difference is the cultural context. Bigfoot, modern legend, pop culture icon. Yeti, spiritual, Sherpa folklore. Almas, matter-of-fact local animal. For many locals, it's part of the fauna, like a bear or a wolf. This grounded biological view, compelling for cryptozoologists and some scientists. Less a myth, more a missing piece of the natural world. How could a creature like the Almas survive in such a harsh and unforgiving environment? The answer, according to decades of reports, lies in its adaptability and simple, resourceful lifestyle. The Almas is believed to be an omnivore, a scavenger, a forager. It reportedly eats plant roots, fruits, nuts. In the mountains, it's said to dig for tubers and collect wild grains. This plant-based diet is supplemented with whatever protein it can find. The Almas isn't considered a master hunter. Instead, it's thought to be an opportunistic feeder. Reports suggest it eats insects, lizards, small rodents, frogs. It might scavenge carcasses left behind by larger predators, wolves, bears. Some nomadic herders have even accused the Almas of stealing food, dried fruits, cheeses. There are also accounts of them raiding cultivated fields for crops, corn, potatoes. When it comes to shelter, the Almas doesn't build permanent homes. It's a nomadic creature. It shelters temporary and rudimentary. In some cases, they construct simple, cone-shaped lean-tos made from branches and foliage. This transient lifestyle means they leave very little physical evidence behind. The mystery of the Almas wasn't just left to local folklore. During the Soviet era, it became the subject of serious, if controversial, scientific inquiry. At the forefront was Dr. Boris Porshnev. A respected historian and sociologist with a PhD. Porshnev became obsessed with the Almas in the 1950s and spent the last decades of his life trying to prove its existence. He wasn't a wild-eyed monster hunter. He was a methodical academic who used scientific rigor. He believed the answer lay at the intersection of history, biology, and anthropology. His greatest contribution was exhaustive collection and analysis of eyewitness testimony. He and his colleagues, including zoologist Pyotr Smolin, established a commission at the Soviet Academy of Sciences. They interviewed hundreds across the Caucasus, the Pamirs, and other remote regions. Porshnev noted the consistency of descriptions, even from witnesses thousands of miles apart. From that evidence, he developed a bold, controversial theory. He proposed the Almas wasn't an ape or a myth, but a surviving population of Neanderthals. He argued they hadn't gone completely extinct, but retreated into Eurasia's most remote, inaccessible parts, and survived into the modern era. His magnum opus, The Present State of the Question of Relict Hominoids, laid out the argument, comparing Almas descriptions to Neanderthal fossil evidence. The theory was, and remains, highly contentious. The Soviet scientific establishment was deeply divided, the commission was disbanded, and his work largely suppressed. Despite that, he continued until his death in 1972. His dedication pushed the Almas from folktale to scientific debate, inspiring researchers like Myra Shackley and Dmitry Bayanov, and prompting the question, what if we were never alone? Of all the tales surrounding the Almas, none is more startling or specific than the story of Zana. This isn't a fleeting glimpse in the mountains, it's a detailed historical account. The story takes place in the remote village of Tikhina in Abkhazia, a region in the Caucasus Mountains. According to local records and the testimony of villagers collected by Russian researchers, Zana was captured in the 1850s. She was described as immensely powerful, covered in reddish-black hair, and possessing features that were both ape-like and human. When she was first captured, Zana was said to be incredibly fierce and wild. She was kept in a cage or enclosure, and it took years for her to become even partially tamed. She never learned to speak a single word, communicating only through grunts, growls, and gestures. Over time, she was allowed more freedom and would perform simple physical tasks. She possessed incredible strength and stamina, able to outrun a horse and swim across a raging river. She had an aversion to warm rooms, preferring to sleep outside in a hollow she dug for herself, even in the dead of winter. Her skin was dark and leathery, with a wide face, high cheekbones, and a powerful jaw. The story takes an even more extraordinary turn. Zana bore several children by local men. While her first few children did not survive, she eventually gave birth to at least 4 who lived to adulthood: Janda, Quit, Kojanar, Gamsa. These children, unlike their mother, were raised by village families. They were reportedly physically normal, able to speak and fully integrate into society, though they were said to possess dark skin and some robust physical features. In the 21st century, Professor Brian Sykes of the University of Oxford obtained DNA samples from 6 of Zana's living descendants and from the tooth of her son, Quit. The genetic analysis confirmed that Zana's maternal lineage was of purely sub-Saharan African origin, yet her skull morphology was unlike any modern human group. The mystery deepened. Was she an escaped Ottoman slave or something far, far older? The enigma of Zana remains the most tangible and perplexing piece of evidence in the entire Almas saga. The Almas is more than just a subject of scientific curiosity. It is a deeply embedded part of the cultural tapestry of Central Asia. For centuries before any scientists arrived with their theories, the people who lived in the shadow of the mountains had their own understanding of these wild folk. In many communities, the Almas is not seen as a monster to be feared, but as a different kind of people. a tribe of wild ones who chose to live apart from the rest of the world. These stories are passed down from generation to generation, not as myths, but as a form of natural history, a way of explaining the world around them. In Mongolia, the Almas is sometimes seen as a symbol of the untamed wilderness itself. To harm an Almas is considered bad luck, a transgression against nature. Some nomadic shamans believe the Almas possesses spiritual powers and acts as a guardian of sacred places in the mountains. They are seen as shy and reclusive beings that want nothing more than to be left alone. This cultural respect may be one of the reasons why the creature has remained so elusive. Locals who encounter it often choose not to report it or hunt it. In the Caucasus, the stories sometimes take on a slightly different tone. There, the wild man, known by various local names like Byabanguli, Kaptar, is occasionally portrayed as a more primitive and sometimes dangerous figure. There are tales of them kidnapping people, particularly women and children, though these accounts are rare and often blend with more supernatural folklore. More commonly, they are seen as simple-minded beings, capable of being outsmarted. Legends tell of hunters tricking them, or of villagers leaving out gifts of food to keep them away from their livestock and crops. This paints a picture of a complex and sometimes tense relationship between humans and their wild neighbors. These local legends provide an invaluable context for the Almas phenomenon. They show that sightings and encounters are not a modern invention, but a long-standing reality for the people of the region. Whether the Almas is a real biological entity or not, it has played a significant role in shaping the worldview of countless communities across this vast landscape. The folklore serves as a living archive, a collection of human experience that predates scientific investigation by centuries. When faced with a mystery as persistent as the Almas, we have to consider all the possibilities from the mundane. A large bear, standing on its hind legs at a distance glimpsed through thick fog, could easily be mistaken for a hairy, human-like figure by a startled observer. This theory struggles to account for detailed, close-range sightings and the remarkable consistency in descriptions over centuries. A second possibility is that the Almas is a product of folklore and human psychology. The idea of a wild man is a powerful archetype found across cultures. Perhaps the Almas is a projection of these deep-seated ideas, a legend kept alive by the isolation and vastness of Central Asia. This explanation makes psychological sense, but it fails to address physical evidence, such as footprints and the very specific, non-mythical descriptions provided by many independent witnesses. This brings us to the more tantalizing and controversial theories. Boris Porshnev championed the idea that the Almas is a relict hominid, a surviving human ancestor. The prime candidate has always been the Neanderthal. Its stocky build, heavy brow ridge, and lack of a prominent chin match Neanderthal fossils. Neanderthals lived in the Caucasus region, and a small, isolated population surviving in the wilderness is not entirely impossible. Another idea points to other archaic relatives, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo erectus. DNA results from Zana's descendants pointed to a sub-Saharan African origin, raising the possibility of an unknown ancient Homo sapiens lineage that left Africa long ago and remained distinct from modern humans. These theories push the boundaries of human evolution, suggesting our family tree might be more complex and more recent than we thought. The Almas forces us to question the very definition of human. As our expedition into this mystery comes to a close, we are left with more questions than answers. The Almas remains an enigma, a shadow that flits between the worlds of science and folklore. We stand on the precipice of the unknown, peering into the vast wilderness of Central Asia, and wonder what secrets it still holds. For centuries, across a vast geographical area, people who have never met have described the same creature, a shy, bipedal hominid more human than ape. We have the meticulous research of scientists like Boris Porshnev, who believed he had found our living ancestor. We have the incredible, almost unbelievable story of Zana, the captured Wildwoman whose DNA continues to puzzle geneticists. These aren't just campfire stories, they are threads in a complex tapestry of evidence that is difficult to dismiss entirely. Ultimately, the Almas challenges our sense of certainty. It reminds us that there are still blank spaces on the map, and that the natural world may yet hold profound surprises. If the Almas is real, its discovery would be the single greatest anthropological find in history. It would force us to rewrite our understanding of human evolution and our place in the world. It would mean that we were not the sole inheritors of this planet, that another kind of human intelligence has been silently watching us from the shadows all along. Until a body, a high-resolution video, or an undisputed DNA sample is produced, the Almas will remain a mystery. It will continue to haunt the lonely mountains and steppes of Central Asia, a living legend that fires our imagination. The search will go on, driven by that same feeling I get on every expedition. The powerful, intoxicating belief that something incredible is waiting to be found just over the next ridge. The Almas might be a myth, a misidentification, or a memory of an extinct species. Or just maybe it's the last of its kind, the last wild human, a lonely survivor from a forgotten age. And that is a mystery worth chasing.